Hello everyone and welcome to Lowrentrick scale modelling, and this is my build of the absolutely classic 172 scale Avro Vulcan B Mk.II from Airfix. Now this kit is part of a stack of old kits that I've been given to build for a local charity that I suspect I've been knocking around in a garage or some other such place for quite a long time. Some of the boxes have seen better days, but they have been around for a few years. If anybody knows anything about the history of this kit, please let me know. I think it's from about 1983, but let me know in the comments what you know about it. And one of the things that I have found is a lovely one of those little Airfix flyers. Takes me back a bit to when I was a kid. And the decals and instructions are actually stuck together. They've become damp, and the adhesive from the decal sheet has stuck itself to the instructions. In a few of the kits, the decals have been pretty battered or yellowed, so I think the way I'm going to fix this is I'm going to sort of re-wet it, but I need something volatile that will release the adhesive but then evaporate readily. So I'm going to use some IPA spray, give the instructions and the decal sheet a good soak, and then before the IPA evaporates off, just peel it back very carefully and see if I can rescue any of the decals. I can already see some are really quite faded, and some have sort of cracks, crazy paving across them, but I'll do my best. Now, as the IPA evaporates like 100% and leaves no residue, I'm hoping that it doesn't, one, destroy the instructions, but two, I think what it should do is just try and release the adhesive a little bit and allow me to peel back without losing too many. One or two of the very, very, very fine decals I can see are already stuck to the paper, but we'll make the best of it. It's one of the problems with vintage kits. You never know what you're going to find in the box. So that's coming away without too much damage. I don't know how usable these decals are going to be until I get there. I think I've got some spares in my box if not, but we'll have to see. This video is sponsored by Galeri. Long-time viewers of the channel will know that I've done quite a few reviews for Galeri so far. I've done the Serenair compressor and airbrush kit and the truly fabulous markers, and those links can be found on my channel. I also very recently did a review on their Mobius 3 airbrush, which is compatible with the Serenair compressor. Absolutely fantastic airbrush and great products. And just now, and for the next 4 days, Galeri will be doing a promotion through the Amazon Prime Day, and if you use this code on top of the Amazon Prime discounts, They do stack and you can get yourself up to 20%. But don't worry if you miss Prime Day. Please do visit my channel, and there are some links in the descriptions of the Galeria reviews to go and get your discount through my code. Thanks for watching, and now back to the video. The sprues themselves look in fairly good condition. They're quite robust, and really good thick plastic. A little bit of flash here and there to be expected, I suppose, but the surfaces are quite scratched and pitted, where over many years, over decades, the plastic sprues have been stored together and rattled and scratched each other. So there's a little bit to do, and also this has some raised detail, so there's not going to be a lot of sanding done because I don't want to obliterate that detail. I'll just do the best I can to get a half decent finish. So starting with the cockpit, while I've got the black out, I may as well do the wheels too. Unfortunately, the figures, although I like getting figures, are a little more than blobs, so I'll try and add a little bit of detail to them if I can, but they are very smooth and just a bit of melted plastic. And I'll paint up the intakes in a nice silver, even though nobody will ever see them. The control panel decal actually went on okay, although it is a little bit cracked. I used a little bit of Tamiya extra thin to melt it back together. And for the nose weight, an old pound coin and some old coppers just happened to be exactly the right weight. I can't remember it off the top of my head, 30 or 40 grams, I can't remember. But if you've got a bit of old coinage lying about and the fuselage is big enough, then you know it's a good call to use for a bit of nose weight. Assembling a model of this size with such big panels is quite straightforward. There's a little bit of flash, a little bit of sanding to make it fit, which is indicative of these older models, I think. Nothing seems to fit just right and needs a little bit of pressure to hold it together. But certainly working with these massive panel pieces is an extra skill when you're used to working in such smaller scale. You know, the 1/72 scale is what I've built the most in aircraft. So there's an extra skill there to get these things to fit, and there are some quite significant panel gaps. Again, I think indicative of the age of the model. Once I'd got the main parts glued together, I had to keep revisiting the joints as they were terrible. On some of the thinner gaps, I used Revell Contactor, as it's quite a good little filler for some of the hairline gaps. And then just keep revisiting each of the joints, filling and gluing, and applying a bit of pressure. Many of the panels on the underside were warped and didn't fit correctly. They've obviously been in the box for a very, very long time. Once I've got the cockpit and the blob pilots masked up, I can start with the painting. The whole model is getting a coating of light green Vallejo Model Air by way of a primer, and then the top is going to be light grey and the bottom in white. It's going to need quite a few layers of white, so I'm trying to keep them nice and thin. I've pre-mixed up some so I can keep revisiting it, but keep the layers nice and thin so I gradually build up a nice coating. Mask off the white part of the bottom fuselage and apply the first coat of grey over the top, and then it's going to have a hand painted camo pattern. So I mean hand painted with the airbrush, but without any sort of masking or any sort of pattern. I'm just going to do it by eye. The camo pattern will be applied in stages, so I'll do it by eye from the box, and then along the edges where you get that yellow bleed. So I'm using a dark green, and it looks like it has like a yellow bleed on the edge as it crosses over onto the grey. But I will go back to the grey and cut these in to make them a little bit sharper, but I kind of like a less defined edge, and that's why I'm doing it in this way. It was quite an effort of will to get the camo pattern something like right. I kept having to revisit the box because that's where I'm taking my inspiration from. But it's satisfying when you see that the pattern starts to take shape. And when the camouflage and the grey go together, it actually looks a little bit like it does on the box, so I'm quite pleased with that. Now I'm going to trace round with the light grey again, sharpen the lines up just a little bit and get rid of any little overspray that's gone on to the grey paint. And you can see it in the time lapse that as I go over, the grey gets a little bit brighter. Once I'm happy that I've got the camo pattern to where I want it to be, I'm going to move on to doing the wheels and the undercarriage. Wheel support stanchions are all going to be done in Vallejo metallic in the steel colour. Obviously all the tyres are going flat black, but in the centre for the hubcaps I'm going to give a go to the Timu Chrome marker pen, which actually when you see work is like magic. I think they're about £1.38 each, and you get a better deal if you buy them in bulk. But the Timu Chrome pens are something that are worth looking at for that little odd job. The actual parts for the undercarriage, except for the tyres, which had a significant amount of flash around them, the parts themselves were in generally really good condition, but the main problem came with the fit into the fuselage. Some of the joints were too wide to get the stanchions to sit and support the weight of the plane. Obviously, it's going to sit on its wheels, so they have to be quite substantial, and the fix has to be pretty good. So the wheels themselves were very good. It was just the attachment to the hull, to the fuselage itself, was pretty terrible. Here you can see that Timu marker pen in action, and actually the result is astounding. It's really good finish, especially for something you want to chrome. The video doesn't do it justice, but this was a real struggle getting them to fit. The problem being they're in two pieces, and so they're a little bit left and a little bit right, and they just wouldn't take the weight of the plane once they were together. So this spent a long time just on its back, drying in a very specific place. I think I even backed it up with some super glue to make the joints a lot stronger. And the dreaded decals. Now, if you remember, these were glued solid to the instructions. The decals themselves are in pretty poor condition, but they are coming off the paper okay, and they are at least sticking to the model, even though the surface of the decals looks very pitted and very cracked. They are still usable, so I may as well get them used. I'm still expecting them to drop to pieces every time I touch them, though. So there we have the completed model. It was a bit of a struggle for a vintage kit, not a great fit, but what you expect from all those years ago. Technology has moved on, but sadly some manufacturers haven't. It's a good, enjoyable kit to do. It's a bit large for my liking at that scale. If I'm going to do something so big, I'd probably like to do more like a tank rather than have these large panel gaps to contend with. But nevertheless, it's been an enjoyable build. Thanks for joining me for another one. Please consider subscribing and check out the description for all the links to the discount codes from things like Valeri. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video.